this meeting to order. Stand for a pledge of allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alrighty, presentations. Communications technology presentation for a grant.
That was Ruben, I think.
Yeah, he was going to be here. Let's see it. Is he online?
Is he online?
There's an L3 for Gail. I don't know who that is. Well, that's we know who that is. That's Gail.
Who's Gail?
Erdheim.
Oh, Gail.
That Gail.
Right, yeah, sure.
All right. So if Ruben was supposed to do that,
Might show
guess-
later.
yeah, we can move along.
Can I move that we entertain a delay if he's gonna do it later tonight, or table it till the next meeting if he's not able to come? If he's not here, there's a very good reason.
Should we hold off on it and
Yeah,
if he doesn't show up, then we'll table it?
If that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have no problem with that. Everybody else all good?
Yep.
Okay. We have no public hearings. Is there any adjustments to the agenda?
Other than Ruben.
Just had one.
Yeah.
Citizens' comments.
Okay.
That would be you.
Okay. Could I
Yeah.
make a motion that we permit Bobby Ware to speak at this meeting? He's not a resident of Waldorf.
Okay, sure.
Do I have to go out there?
Yes, please.
My name's Bobby Weir. I live in Damascotta Mills, 36 years. I went over to the Friendship School yesterday with Stan and Karen Ann, and there's a whole contingent of people. We were going to put a recovery residence at the Nova Antique Exchange. We were all ready to go. 12,000 square feet, fit the bill, everything. We had everybody on board. Everybody's on board for a recovery residence. There's 110 recovery residents in Maine. 57 of them are licensed. There's none in Lincoln County. So what they're finding out is, because the increase in the number of residences, the system of sober living works, as opposed to the revolving jail door, that type of thing. And it's much less expensive than building hospitals or treatment facilities. And it's, so the Friendship School is not going to work. Just the space, the ceilings are like 16 feet tall. There's a lot of wasted space in there. Never mind the expense. But so basically, when I'm here, I didn't want to cancel not coming, just to kind of pique your interest. That there's a whole group. I mean, we got Sheriff Brackett, Cindy Wade, Chloe. I mean, everybody was on board and pumped up for this Nova Antique Exchange. What happened was, we were all ready to go, and the leach field needed to be expanded because of what we were going to do there, and we didn't have a problem with that. We were going to spend the money on it, but the whole property was bordered on resource protection, so it squashed the whole thing. We couldn't do the leach field.
Excuse me, what resource what?
Resource protection.
Protection.
You know, it's not shoreland, but it's similar. So it puts restrictions on what you can do. So we couldn't do it. So anyway, so basically I'm here just to kind of let you know that there's a so if you hear of something, or something might, you know, we've got people in place to go ahead with something like this. There's a group out of Port. It's a Maine Association of Recovery Residences. I sent you a link for their website. Every time I deal with those people, I'm more and more impressed. They're unbelievable. They'll guide you through the whole process. So there's all kinds of, not a lot of restrictions. They're backing off on the restrictions to make it, you know, not easier, but just more affordable to open these places. So, anyway, the substance use disorder thing, we're not winning. You know, it's yeah. I think the governor and her team are realizing that, you know, we got to do something. So that's why you're seeing all this stuff. The Good Samaritan Law. They're gonna expand the Good Samaritan Law. What that's about is when someone overdoses and falls on the ground, all the people around, 90% of them are either on probation or they're holding dope or something like that. So they have to clean up the area until they call 911. So what the Good Samaritan Law is going to pass, Chloe's behind that, and so what that's going to do is all the people that are present at the scene are going to be admonished from being arrested. So that's another thing that's going on. So that's it. I mean, I'm always looking for a chance. I mean, there's people that, you know, some people get touched by the recovery process. You know, there's properties that get donated. There's all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of monies. There's money everywhere for this kind of stuff now, especially more now than I've ever seen. You know, that thing I sent you and that big project in Portland was in the Lincoln County News. Those people are fantastic. I mean, the reason why I went to the friendship school is because that company the company I was talking to, I talked to an engineer and I talked to the head of the company. I mean, that was a $6 million project. This friendship school would have been like a quarter of that if we did it. But what they specialize in is keeping infrastructure. They want to keep things the way they are, and they want to create green space for each project. So that was a attraction for that, was to keep things the way they are. But anyway, so that's it. That's my spiel. I'm just a regular citizen concerned with keeping the quality of life here. I mean, it was 6 years ago. I called Chris Johnson up, and him and I had lunch together, and the whole Lincoln County Recovery Collaborative became because of that one. That's why everybody took their head out of the sand. We had you know, all the cops on board, and everybody just cooperated. You know, now you go into the emergency room, you know, addicts don't get arrested. They set them up with counseling and all that stuff. So the other thing was, there's only one AA meeting in Waldorf a week. That's, for the 12-step program in place. Questions? Go ahead, Bob.
The optimal size they look for, something like this. How many people do you look for? How is the minimum?
18 to 20, 10 is a minimum. Okay. Yeah. It's usually, the ones that I've researched and talked to, I mean, eventually, I mean, people pay to live here. You know, it's a sliding scale. So it's usually like $150 a week for somebody to, you know, live there. But they're willing to work with it. So usually they have a manager, they have a counselor that comes in. So, you know, there's regulations. They have to have 12 steps. If you use drugs, that's funny. That law just changed a year ago, less than a year ago, because people were maneuvering the system. They were hiring an attorney, and they were getting out of it. And so anyway, so they changed that law. So that now is in effect if you use your use.
Anybody else got any questions?
Thank you, Tom. You know, just give me a call if you hear of anything. It's like, you know, you never know. You never know with this stuff. And like, I've never seen more activity to kill this problem than I'm seeing right now out of the gun stuff. So,
Good, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Here now. Shall we go back up to Ruben and communications and technology presentation?
All right. Sorry for being late. Sorry, I'm gonna have to give it my. In case you folks don't already know, fire alarms have a limited lifespan, and when they reach that lifespan and you're not paying attention, your whole house will make you hunt for the old fire alarms. That's where I've been. I can hear, and I'm definitely awake. So I'm Ruben Mahar. I'm chair for the Waldorf Communications and Technology Committee. Our primary task is getting broadband where it currently isn't. The and technology part of our name is also just weighing in and advising on whatever happens to be going on. Tonight, I'm here to talk about broadband and take my first shot at writing some pretty words and see how we do. So I have a vision for the future of Waldoboro. I see families with a kind of access to broadband that virtually nobody in the state has. I see homes of increased value because of their location in a place with a vibrant and competitive communications landscape. I see a school system capable of training students to make a living wage almost out of high school, which is something a lot of students can't realize today. I see a municipal government with a network that allows them to communicate and respond quickly, even in the face of a growing population. I see a place where an increasing range of people choose to put down roots and grow with us. I see an opportunity for everyone here now. That opportunity is to make life better for people that are here in 100 years when we're all gone, or maybe some of us. We'll see what the future does. This is a big dream. I don't operate on small scale. I think better with large problems, and this is going to have a price tag. I really only have one request tonight. I'm looking for support to start writing a grant so we can put a price tag on this problem. I need to know what it will cost to build this type of network. There's going to be a lot of questions about scale and how it will work, where it will connect, and what it will go to. That's not what this is for. This is to find someone that will help us plan that, and then we can put those questions in after the fact. And I'm here to answer any questions you folks might have about that.
Anybody any questions? Go ahead, Bob.
So it's a grant, a planning grant that you're looking to apply for?
Correct.
And the town would be applying for it?
Mm-hmm.
What would be the source of the grant monies, and would the town have to share?
So that's a great question. That's a great question. So this grant is through the Island Institute, and it's a matching grant, though it's not necessarily a dollars and cents matching grant. It's a conversation we need to have. There's something called an in-kind contribution. Well, they'll look at the work that we and I have already done. Not necessarily just at the CTC level, but other projects we volunteered and worked for. If there is a contribution needed somewhere, we need to apply and talk to them to see what that number would be. And that's where it starts to fork off into different possibilities. You know, do we look to work with a specific ISP to help pay for part of that planning grant? Or if we can get it on our own so we own all the data, can we do it that way? That's why we need to start. There's even those things are things we don't have answers to yet, and we need to define that. But to know that, we have to start.
So what, go ahead, Colonel.
What percent of the town is not covered with broadband now?
So this is a
Done
great
surveys.
So it
Where are
depends
we?
on who you ask and what you want to call broadband. So right now, and feel free to correct me if you've heard differently, most of the time broadband's defined by a speed of 100 megs down and 10 megs up, which is great if you want to be ready for now. And over 95% of the town has access via cable through Charter Spectrum. That's not what I'm looking at. There are technologies coming that we don't have any infrastructure to support. There are challenges coming we're not ready for that get expensive if you have to lay them out in an emergency. And there are places where you'll see they have to suddenly put down huge sums of money to build a fiber communications network that will last a long time and do a lot of things. I want to get ahead of that. These things that I'm talking about, my favorite example is in-home care for stroke using virtual reality. There's a version of that that can use 80 megabits up, sending all your, it's not just video, it's where all your joints are and everything your body's doing back to a computer somewhere else. And it's not just speed, it's the time you send to the time that computer receives. It's having I have a version of this in my head, and this is where we would have to, if we got to the stage where we're negotiating how to have this network built, I'm not just talking about a commercial residential network. If we built a fiber network in the town, one of the requests I think we should make is that for every municipal and education building to have a sub-network that they own end to end. It's not fed by network, it's all fed internally. And what you can do with that is a lot of things. You can feed your transmitters, you can feed your municipal buildings. If you move staff around, they can stay on the network. You can have one communications bill. You can have pieces of it that are for school use where you train students to build what's called a WAN, a wide area network, a very big, town or multiple town wide network. And when you have training for that, you don't get a job that's $7 an hour. You get a job that's $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year. These are the things you don't necessarily need a degree to get started in if you're ready and if you're educating. You can also save a lot of money because if you have a network like that, you don't have to pay for internet at every single site. You can have one connection and one IT team that manages it everywhere. And if the ISP that built your network goes out of business, you have a fail-safe that you can build off of. And that's where, if we get past the grant and enter into negotiating with somebody, those are the future things we talk about that would drive this kind of vision. But even if you put cable everywhere, with all the smoke and mirrors you can do with cable, and it's a lot, you can do some impressive stuff, but you can't do the stuff I'm talking about. Every time they upgrade, they replace more and more of their old stuff with newer fiber. It's going to be a long time before those networks catch up to this. If we use that spec, we'll be maybe keeping up or just behind everyone else. I'm trying to put us ahead. And that's with all the different goals we have in mind. That's, that's our fire, police, our EMS. That's our economic plan. That's being able to spin up Wi-Fi any part of the town if we have a, whatever kind of holiday. There's a lot of things that you can do, but you need that base thing in place. And that's where I want to get us.
Thank you.
So what kind of grant, what are you talking about for grant money?
So the grant,
There must be a number.
it's around a $15,000 grant is usually what planning for a town this size would come to. And that's what I've seen other towns do. We've looked at joining other groups. We've looked at looking at county-wide things. And what I'm seeing is a lot of other groups stalling out. What we're trying here is something people aren't trying.
Now, would you be working with Max on this?
Gosh, I hope so.
I assume I am. Okay.
I love to bother Max. It's one of my favorite hobbies.
Go ahead, Bob.
Is your idea that the CTC would write the scope for the grant?
It is.
So that we know what we want and we know at the end of the day the product that we're going to get.
Yeah, it would be a working session.
Okay.
But I want to be extremely clear what we're asking for. At this stage, it's just a grant. It's not tied to anyone. We're not promising any one company. It's, hey, everyone, be on notice. We're starting this process. It seems fair.
And you want just us to approve you?
I want you guys.
Apply for the grant.
Yeah, I want the select board to know what we're up to and to be on board with it.
One thing I wanted to point out, just a clarification on the Colonel's question from earlier about what's broadband, and hopefully this mic is working and people can hear me at home. What definition Ruben gave for the 100 symmetrical is the state definition. The federal definition, I believe, is still 25 down, 3 up, which is then their standard for, I think, a decade.
Right.
It's been a long time. So the important difference in that is that if we're going to federal money, areas that have 25 free service would not be eligible, which is, I would estimate maybe 95% of the community. 95% of the community either has a charter or has LCI. There's some DSL that can do it, but it's not reliable. But if we're talking 100 symmetrical, not even the places that have LCI fiber have that, unless LCI decides to do an upgrade.
So we wouldn't qualify for federal money, is what you're saying?
It depends on how these things go and how things move. And this is part of why we want the planning grant. Getting a grant to pay for the build-out is one option, but we're considering every possible variation. For any of that, for any version, we need to know what building the network would cost. So if we're going for a grant, we know what it costs. If we go for a bond, we have to know what it costs. We talk about this stuff, but we don't know officially from qualified, third parties with no other dog in the fight what it will cost.
And in terms of that federal funding that you just previously mentioned, that's usually going to depend because, for example, with the American Rescue Plan money, they have money that's going to be state of Maine is gonna do it. So the state of Maine thinks that's gonna be 100 symmetrical. So the American Rescue Plan, which should be 25-3, will be going to 100 symmetrical. So.
I can't hear Max anymore.
All right, well, that was not that.
So to piggyback on those speeds, I can answer most of the technical questions you might have. If I were to boil it down real simply, any technology capable of delivering 100 symmetrical, right now there's one, it's fiber. There's other stuff off in the ether, but that's what you're going to end up building. Two, it's not just about the speed, it's how fast people can respond to you. I know, Bob, you're good at reading whatever book I throw at you. Thank you. There's a book called Fiber by Susan Crawford.
Yeah.
I will give a copy to anyone that hasn't read it. I've got more coming tomorrow. There's a thing about how fast the human brain can recognize delay. So let's say that, I hope this doesn't happen to anyone here, but let's say you've been diagnosed with cancer and you're on a video call with your physician. Anything longer than about 15 milliseconds, your brain can tell there's been a delay. It doesn't feel like an in-person conversation. And as more and more people have those critical interactions over video, over the internet, that number is important. Cable doesn't do that. Some fiber optic networks don't do that unless they're managed extremely well. That's another technology that needs to be in place, and that's going to become more and more common, if only because there are more people seeking care. Fiber is the only technology that will do that. No wireless ISP will do that. The next question I'm waiting for at one of these meetings is about Starlink and satellite internet, which are great and they have their place. Starlink is fast right now because not a lot of people use it. So for the people that can never get a wireline connection, we need to get as many people around them connected physically so those people that are left have some kind of resource left. Even now, Starlink's having a problem where their speeds are slowing down as they ramp people up. And their network will get denser, assuming they don't go bankrupt. But that's not going to serve it. It's the same thing for 5G. You'll see people talking about, oh, we're going to deploy cellular to solve this problem. You have to feed cellular with fiber optic, and to make it fast enough, it's the same cost as running fiber to the home, but not nearly as fast. And the upkeep is a lot more expensive.
So, I guess I got a question. We're running behind. We're not really running behind. We're just keeping up.
Yep.
What happens when if we ever did get this in place, we're back behind again?
Yeah, we'll continue to roll further behind.
Keep us from we're still falling behind.
So you've got to have the tech in place to get there. And I'm not telling you that fiber stapled to the side of a house is going to be the solution. It's the services you can deliver over that. But that's the piece we're missing, and it affects everything. There are homes that I didn't buy that were worth twice the home I ended up going with because of even basic broadband availability then. That's going to affect the town. The value of your homes affects what you can tax. And I don't want to put us in a situation where we're full of people driving 2 Mercedes each or whatever. But the reality is if you want to grow, you need to be able to attract that wide base to work from all those levels, from everything from education to working from home to starting businesses here.
Because I know we've discussed some of this stuff.
Yep.
But there was something that you said that was you could use. It would be, I don't know how to put it. There would be no limitations to it as far as I can't remember. You called it black something.
Oh, so there's dark fiber, which is just fiber that doesn't do anything. So that's a separate but useful conversation. And that was really more about infrastructure. As we build things, let's say we build a bridge.
Okay.
If we're smart, we put an empty conduit and maybe put some dark fiber in there that someone can attach to. You need to have a more complete plan with that. There are places that have put in tons of dark fiber and not thought about who's going to put a laser on the end of it. Fiber is as fast as the stuff on the end. That's why it ages so well. This 100 meg synchronous thing, fiber today, a single strand, I think can deliver up to 10 gigabits, which is 10,000 megabits. And you can buy strands of fiber basically as dense as you want. You can do a lot of neat tricks with it. And that's why it lasts so long once it's in the ground. That dark fiber thing, that's a separate plan. That would lead into the things I've talked about as far as expanding utilities in Waldoboro and Waldoboro's private municipal network and things like that. So
what is the lifespan?
The lifespan of fiber, 50 to 100 years, depending on how you build the plant. And there's the fiber and there's the equipment that drives it. There's nothing perfect. There's always upkeep. And that's where the 2 books I recommend to talk about that a lot in terms that really anyone could absorb, and they're interesting books. I'd recommend that. Or even just Googling onto YouTube fiber optics and, burning an hour of your time.
Well, assuming we get a grant.
Yeah.
Do we have a say in whom is selected to do the planning?
Well, I think that depends on how we do it. So I can give you two scenarios. Let's say we get a grant and the matching part is completely in kind between just Waldorf and the Allied Institute. We would own that data. We could take that to any ISP. Now, there's a different version where we get a grant, but let's say they want $5,000 in cash, and the town doesn't want to put that in. If we were to go to LCI and they paid for that, it would be reasonable that they would expect to own that data, and we are then locked in with a deal with that company, which wouldn't necessarily be bad. There's research left to do because, like Max said, just because you have fiber doesn't mean you're guaranteed X speed. It's also what the ISP delivers. And we would need to look at that once we get to the point of them saying, yeah, you could probably get this grant, here's the requirements. So there's different directions it could go.
Would you like direction from the board if we're willing to go along with this idea to say you go ahead and apply for the grant?
What I was
regarding whom we'd like to see or not
Sure.
see get involved in the planning process?
I think so. And what I had in mind, and of course, at your pleasure, however direction you want to go, as we go into this, as we come up with questions that we need answered, those were questions I assumed we would bring to the board to see what direction you want to go in. So if we come back with, hey, you need to spend this much to complete the grant, we would come to you and say, these are the options, how would you like to proceed? So anytime there's a potential fork in the road, we would seek advice.
I think we kind of need to know some of that stuff too for the next budget too. But yeah, I think that's the key. I think that's the key.
Oh, absolutely.
We don't have anything budgeted right now for that. Yep. So the CPC ought to come up with a recommendation for a line item in the budget and amount.
Okay.
To support the idea.
Yep. I think once we start that communication, part of that process is getting that number.
So from us, you just need our support, our blessing to go ahead and do that.
Yep, and I want to make sure that, everything's done the right way and you know what we're up to.
Mm-hmm.
Much as I talk about the internet, I am very much a novice and I don't want to break a rule if I can help it.
All right. Somebody like to make a motion on that?
I'd move that we support Ruben's idea and put together with him on it so that we can find a way with it.
I'll second that.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Thank you.
We'll be working on a grant with Max.
It's going to be a good time.
Welcome back, Max. That'll teach you for being gone so long. All right. Select board comment.
Oh, what do you have for us this? I've got a few. The library's been working closely with Andy Zaleev and Holly Henning Zaleev in regard to an endowment issue. And I just wanted to say how helpful he has been. He hasn't charged us anything for it. And he's now in the process of reestablishing his own practice. He joined another firm for a while. As of February 1st, he's going to reestablish his own practice here in Waldoboro. And I just thought I'd mention that because he has been so helpful in so many ways to others. His email address is andy@zaleevlaw.com, and he practices trademark and trade secret law. I mentioned this at the last meeting, and I promised I'd mention it again at this one. Tom Schmielk from Maine Forestry Service, he's an entomologist. He'll be here on February 9th at 4:30 to talk about spring strategies to take on brown-tail moth, and I hope we get a good showing for that event. One other thing, and I talked to Abden about this, and I think Julie too, about the intersection at Route 1 and Route 235. There have been concern, particularly from people who drive that and make that turn at night from Route 1 onto 235. There's an island there, and it's really difficult to see that island. And Max, weren't we gonna put a light up there, traffic light, an LED at some point?
There should be an LED street light there already. I don't know if it's burned out or not, but
Well,
there should be a street light that was put there a while ago.
Okay, well, and this is in the last 3 or 4 days, they can't see that island, and they make that turn, and they're afraid they're gonna miss it and hit something.
Well, the street light might just be a bit further away from that island to be in the light's radius. That might be it. I'll drive by after tonight's meeting to check.
Okay, they're suggesting an easy fix would be to put some of that reflective tape in strategic locations at that intersection. I know it's a state issue, but I'm just wondering if that's a simple fix, that the town can't just go out there and put some tape on the thing and take care of it. And the last thing is that the Waldorf Theater is commencing community theater activity on the 15th of February. And if you do sets or acting or anything related to putting on a production, they would love you to come to that meeting and get involved and discuss ways that you can participate in what they're doing.
Cool. Awesome. All set, Bob?
Yep, thank you.
Yep. Colonel?
The only thing I have is Jan and I interviewed Gail Erdheim yesterday for the Sylvania Committee. It was a good interview. I was sure impressed with her vision and her credentials. And I move that we put her on the Sylvania Committee.
I'd second that motion.
Is there any other more discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Is that it, Colonel?
That's it. Thank you.
Well, I don't have anything. I was just gonna say we're fortunate to have somebody of her, like Gail, who wants to be on that committee, and we have room for more, correct?
I believe so,
More
yeah.
people on that. Do you know who is on that, or how many?
I don't.
Okay, I think it's smaller than we had hoped. Am I correct in that? Okay, so if there are any others out there who are interested, please speak up. That's all I have.
All right, town manager's report. You're up.
Hello. Sorry, excuse me. I don't have anything this week.
Okay.
Could I point out something for, yeah,
Yes, go ahead, Bob.
Julie's been at home,
Yes.
working really hard, and contending with COVID in the family. And I just think she deserves our thanks for sticking with her job and doing what needs to get done and getting it done while contending with all this stuff at home. It's amazing what she's doing. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
I did have one thing to say.
Go ahead, Jan.
If I'd repressed it already, but, well, it's just that our former town manager, Linda Jean Briggs, died last week, suddenly, unexpectedly. And it's always sad when somebody you know is no longer with us, and I just wanted to mention that.
All right, would somebody like to approve the consent calendar?
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
No?
All those in favor? New business, the Lincoln County Hazard Mitigation Plan. 2021 update. Who has that?
Kyle.
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 Kyle, front and center. Give us an update, please, sir.
Okay, so, I'm gonna assume you guys read all 342 pages of that, right?
Absolutely, twice.
So on page 165, what are they, gonna give you guys a little test? No,
I think it's on page 71.
71. What's our recurring hurricane? You guys see how many years we're supposed to get a hurricane? 90 mile an hour?
Every 100 years?
Every 50.
Great question.
50 years. Every 50 years, they say we can expect a hurricane of over 90 miles an hour. So we're well overdue for that. Anyway, the Lincoln County Hazard Mitigation Plan. This is a document that collects data from all over the county to paint a picture for FEMA, basically. It's updated every 5 years. And tonight you guys are request or this, to sign on to that document, just like all other 18 other counties. This will be the fourth time that I've gone through this process. It's, the document was originally crafted in 2005, and every 5 years after that, it's usually approved, and not a lot of action. I don't know, Max, if you got involved, did you get involved from the planning commission at all in this? No. It was all, yeah, it was all hired out this year, and basically we just update any demographics in town, and if there was any changes. We have a list of, there is one section there in the back about our planned mitigation strategies, and most of them well, all of them are related to public works, about long-term projects for reducing recurring damages, I guess, when if we get a bad storm or a big flood, or every once in a while we'll get some damaging, we get 4, 5, 6 inches of rain in 6 hours, we could end up with floods. And there are several spots in town that we can have problems with. And I don't know if you guys have been through, I mean, there's 5 or 6 of them here that, for instance, the Duck Puddle Road at the town line with Nobleboro, that bridge, that area goes underwater just about quite often. And it's a long-term project to try to get that repaired. If there's money available. Of course, that's what this is all based on, this is kind of a picture so they know how big the backlog is at the state level. So if funding becomes available, we can apply it in the right places. So yeah, so that's kind of it in a nutshell.
No major changes then?
No, I mean, they added the COVID section, the pandemic section, and they added a small, about drought, but all the other major, flooding, hurricane, earthquakes, the major disasters that we could face here in the county with a higher degree. I mean, there's a million things that could happen, but those types of things are more up to happen more frequently. And the plan outlines strategies to mitigate all those things by, whatever, upsizing a culvert today so we don't end up with flooding tomorrow. Planning where if there's an earthquake and what buildings could be susceptible to an earthquake if we were to have one here over a certain magnitude, or if we had a hurricane of so many mile-an-hour winds, and when that would occur. I mean, if we get, last week we had 60-mile-an-hour winds and nobody even noticed, but we had those 60-mile-an-hour winds in September when all the leaves are on the tree. We could be 2 weeks trying to restore power or more. So yeah, so that's the hazard mitigation plan. The last thing it does is it permits us to compete for funding. Every time that there is a disaster declaration awarded in the state and that we're part of, or whoever, the state carves off 10% of that award and earmarks it for hazard mitigation. I mean, it sounds like a lot of money, but if it's a $6 million award in the state, and that means they carve out 600,000, and then the whole state's trying to compete for 600,000. So when, if you got to replace a bridge for 450,000, there's not many people that, if they would approve that. So it's very competitive. But I don't know how this whole new infrastructure plan that's rolling out, I know the state just got earmarked for quite a few dollars here, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see eventually when it rolls down to this level that they'll be looking at this plan to say, oh, okay, so what's your strategy? They may end up tying some of these projects that, if it would have rolled down this far, if it stops at the DOT level or if it's going to continue down to us.
Well, there were some things on the plan that was written that said completed for Waldorf.
Yes.
There were a couple of things
Yep.
that you actually got, or the town actually got done.
Mm-hmm.
How long were those on the list?
Well, it's just, it's an update, so like the next time, those will be taken off the
They
list.
will be off.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the update is that, last time, what were you doing? Hey, yeah, in the last 5 years, we were able to complete these projects through regular funding processes or grant or disaster declaration, however, it's done. So just so you know, this one was on here, it's no longer, it's already completed, so we're just letting them know that this project that we reported the last 5, 10, 15 years is now complete. So the next cycle, when we do this, you won't even see those on the list. Those will be removed from the list, and, you know, new projects will be added, so forth.
One follow-up. I know Storm Mountain Road was on
Mhm.
the list now. What's the issue there?
You're getting into a John Daigle question now.
Oh, okay, sorry.
You know, I believe it, if like any place, it's drainage. Making
Okay.
sure that because the mountain, the way the water drains off the mountain, and making sure that, you know, they were gonna add a bunch of riprap and a few culverts up there to shed the water appropriately, because if we get, you know, we haven't had any since '09, I think was the last big storm we had. I think.
Hannaford's all flooded in there.
Yeah, it's been quite a while, but it could come back. Who knows? You know, the cycle comes back around where you know, if we get we pretty much dialed down that if we get a 4 to 6 inches of rain in a 4 to 6 hour period, that we're going to have problems because of the washouts. Couple of months ago, they had Knox County had a huge problem. We just missed it. I mean, the rain line was right at the county line, and they had significant flooding damages from a lot of rain, and we were just on the edge of the front or something to where it set up, and had it been 10 miles this way, we would have had, you know, a lot of flooding, but knock on wood, it didn't happen here.
So you're looking for us to,
There should be a document that came with this plan for signature, and I don't know if it's in the if it's,
is it in our?
it could
Okay,
be
so
in
we're
that
just gonna have a
folder.
motion to approve it.
But I think this is actually a standard document that should be like they call it a resolution.
Yep.
And I don't know if that document,
Yep, yep.
and if there's specific wording that you have to enter into record for the motion.
I suggested a redraft of that, so it's applicable to the select board, not the county commissioners.
Oh, is that what they said?
Packet was and did you get that, Pam?
But I don't know if I gave that to that may have been one of the things that I forgot to do.
Select board, right here.
I mean, if you want to enter the wording in as a motion tonight, and then you can take care of the admin later. I mean,
That's a
it could
good
have them draft up the appropriate.
Yeah, let me just pull it up.
Select board. So what you're saying, Bob, is you'd rather have,
That's more of it. The first paragraph didn't make a lot of sense. There were some words missing. And at the end, it talked about commissioners signing off. We're not commissioners, we're select board members.
so,
Let me see.
okay, I see, you want to put select board for the town of Waldorf versus commissioner. Okay, all right, I see what you're saying. Is that an issue, Kyle?
No, not at all. It could say whatever you want it to say. I mean, it's in the spirit of, you know, adopting, I mean, you know, I mean, you could just make a statement that you approve the manual as written, as presented, and we can send a letter to that effect, or if there's specific language, whereas adopting it as a resolution, I'm not sure exactly what document, what's in that paragraph there.
See, let's change to select board. No. And that's the only thing, Bob, is just,
Yeah, I'm just trying to pull it up.
maybe.
Because I couldn't find it. It wasn't as part of the.
No, it's at the back of the package. I'm just trying to find what I sent to
There's the
Julie.
page, Bob, right there that we're.
I was gonna suggest that whereas natural and man-made disasters may occur at any time, we recognize that to lessen the impacts of such disasters, we will save resources.
Yeah, I don't know. This is just a form that every other town in the county's gonna sign, so.
It's their
So do we have the power to change anything on it? Julie?
If you must change their wording because you don't like it, have at it.
I think Ron's got an issue.
Yeah, I sent it on the 20th.
I mean, honestly, Bob, the only thing, just change commissioners to select board, a select board member, a select board. and
Select
then-
board for the town of
And then you
Waldorf.
guys sign it just as is, and that's all, that's really all that needs to be
Yep, okay.
signed. It's fine, I mean, again, this is something we've done numerous times over the last 20 years, so.
Yep. Okay,
And then,
so that'll be in the packet.
I guess,
That'll be signed.
I assume so, I think she's on her way
She'll
to,
do it. She's on it.
she's on her way to go fix it right now, and,
Yes.
Yep.
you just, when it gets back, I guess somebody could make the motion to read it into the record, and whereas,
I think you just need to make a motion to accept the plan, and then she can change the document and you can sign it.
Yeah, I move we accept the plan as presented.
Second.
Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Okay, so when it comes back,
Excellent.
we're ready for us to sign.
there we go.
Thanks again, Kyle.
You're welcome,
Yes,
guys,
thank you,
thank
Kyle.
you.
We get to see you every 5 years. That's always nice.
Oh, I'm around.
I know.
And those photographs of that eagle are awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Unbelievable.
I was a little lucky the other day.
Oh, man.
Okay, old business. Jefferson EMS discussion.
I just wanted to update you guys, well, you were all there, but Jefferson did vote to extend our services until, June 30th of this year and pay the amount. And I am currently working on the budget, the EMS budget, in order to give both them and Friendship the new number starting July 1st, 2022 and running to June 30th, 2023.
All right, because everybody was there, so we know what happened.
Julie and Richard did a great job.
Yes, they did.
They did a really good job. They represented our town very well.
Thank you.
11.2, disorderly property ordinance.
If you all will remember, we went over this back in November, and this was started when Karen Ann brought up an ordinance that had been utilized in Rockland. I went over it, we went over it a couple of times. There were some other towns that had different versions. This was the last version that was distributed. And we had discussed having a public hearing on it in January or February, and then potentially, if it passed muster, placing it on the warrant in June. So this was in the tickler file to make sure we all remembered and discussed it.
So we can set a date in our next 1 or 2 meetings. Is that what you want us to do?
For a public hearing, if you want to proceed with it.
Now, this is just
Any-
one example. When we had another example from Rockland, are you or somebody putting together something specific to Waldeboro, or is that our job?
What is in front of you should be specific to Waldorf.
Okay,
This is it. She just gave it to you.
I've had this one. This one came. I have the town of Wyndham.
Yeah, that's what I had too.
Yeah.
And then I had one from Brunswick as well.
Oh, okay, yeah, I just have Wyndham and I've read Rockland and, okay, all righty, there.
This is
Here.
the one you
Okay.
have in front of you tonight that she handed out should be for the town of Waldorf.
Okay, it is. I just got it, yeah.
And we took what we felt was the best of all the ordinances
Yep.
and put it in one.
Great, great.
Okay, so we can look at this and go from there then, I
Correct.
guess.
And we tried to also include some of Abden's concerns that the landlord may be trying to do everything they can do
Mm-hmm.
to fix it. But it also gives us some room if the landlord is not cooperating. reading too.
Yep, so this gives the town some teeth to do something.
Correct.
We have some homework.
Okay, good.
So that's our final version of what we thought was going to be. And
Good.
just, I mean, I had the chief of police, even Kyle weighed in on it.
Uh-huh.
The fire chief, Karen Ann and myself.
Good.
Yeah, this one has civil penalties in it, that's what
Okay.
I wanted to make sure.
Yep.
And it does.
Okay, I read that one, and the other one, I'll.
And I did send that resolution to you just now.
Oh, okay,
Sorry.
that's okay. That one I'll fix, I believe.
Yep, we fixed it the way, we just changed the,
Okay.
all right,
Okay.
the update on the Route 1 and 235 project. Is Max gonna do that, or is Julie gonna give us an update? I would say Max,
I think Max is.
with a tear in his eye.
Yeah, so Gartley and Dorsky responded, and there are a lot of wetlands in that area. I hate wetlands. Mainly when they get in the way of a good project. So I'm going to be speaking with Andrew tomorrow to see what can be salvaged from this project. Because even if we can't build through there, you know, we can still see how much it's going to cost to run the water up to the pump station, and see how much it would cost to get the sewer and water around that area if we do decide we want to go forward with the project. I don't have the map or anything, but essentially we would lose maybe the entire western area. You could get a nice 30-acre block, I'd say, if you came down from Union and still branched out a bit. But it's going to be very hard to have the utilities cut through that area, which would have saved some money. And you're going to lose a lot of Route 1 frontage, so you know a lot of commercial businesses may not be interested anymore. But as I say, that's just the update I have so far, and there might be some parts of this we can still scrap and scrounge and put to use in the future.
That's back to the drawing board.
I'm not saying it's dead until I've seen everything with the project and we get the engineering study back. But what I initially envisioned is definitely done.
The owners
Andrew
are in tune with
Oh,
this.
sorry, Julie.
Andrew responded to your email.
Yep.
And you're not gonna be happy.
Yeah. Well, I saw an email before the meeting. I don't know if that's the same one you're talking about or
Same
not.
one, yes.
Yeah. Because I didn't know if the wetlands were like, you know, a suggestion or something, or if it was a significant.
No.
Yeah,
Apparently
and
they were investigated wetlands, so I don't think that wetlands line is changing.
yep, that wasn't really the best news to hear. And he said something about scaling certain things back, so that's why I need to talk with Andrew a bit more to see about what the scaled back parts could be. Jan, you were saying?
I'm just asking if the owners have seen this report or know anything about it.
No. So I actually just responded to I responded to the owner before doing all this with Andrew, and we were talking about some other parts of it as well. And I said, well, we're going to wait for the engineering study before giving definitive
Right.
answers. But I did sort of leave out that implication that, you know, we need to see what happens first. There's still a lot that could go wrong, and this is one of those things that could go very wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So out of that 70-acre parcel, only about 30 acres of it's usable.
Well, I don't even know what the entire eastern area is supposed to look like, because I think, Julie, if I'm right, Gartley and Dorsky was only looking at that western area, because that's where the road was going to come in from. They didn't even look too much into the eastern area, right?
Correct. They stopped once they found that because they thought it would significantly impact the project and did not want to incur any more charges to further investigate.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad looking thing. I mean, it was all wetlands on that western half.
So anyway,
I appreciate Julie stopping it, because we didn't spend a lot of money for the information we got.
Well, I just want to give credit where credit's due. Gartley really Dorsey stuff themselves and
Yeah.
then reached out. So I just, it's always good to trust your professional partner, and they've always been very good with us.
We've given them a lot of business, so they should.
So anyways, that's my first day back in the office.
Oh.
Sorry, Max.
All right.
But
Does
yeah.
anybody else got any questions about it? Friendship Street School RFP.
So may I say something about this? Since I'm involved in some way, I am going to recuse myself and leave the meeting.
Yep.
And leave you folks to talk about this project. Have a good night.
Don't forget your jacket.
Oh, he's coming back. You coming
No,
back?
no, I'm not.
Good, okay.
Thank you for the reminder.
Yes.
Have a good night, Bob.
Yes.
Thank you, Julie. Be well.
Drive careful.
The RFP, I have not seen the paperwork for that. Does anybody else?
Yeah, it came, Julie sent it to us.
Oh, I must have, I didn't see it in my packet. I looked at my email real quick. I
Oh.
didn't see it was on the list.
Yeah, it was.
I had sent it out last week. So basically what I wanted to do tonight and why I put it on the agenda is I just wanted to acknowledge that we did receive one response to the request for proposal.
Yep.
It is from Ron Phillips, someone in town, and Bob Butler recused himself because he is involved in the project. So just publicly, and so that's well known, is Bob is a principal in the project, so he cannot have anything really to do with it on a select board level.
Yep.
I really wasn't planning on going over the specifics of the project tonight. Our town planner was back today. It was his first day back.
Yep.
I don't think we should really get into the specifics of the project until our town planner has had the opportunity to review it. So I would ask that it be put on the next agenda.
Okay. Would somebody like to table this until the next meeting, which is what, February 9th?
I move that we table this Friendship Street School RFP
No, it's the 8th.
information to the 8th of February.
Yep. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any more discussion?
I'm just curious if they're going to do a presentation. If that's scheduled or if they've,
Yes, I would have that scheduled on the 9th,
8th.
or the 8th, I'm sorry, that's right, the Browntown Law, I'm getting
Right.
confused. Yes, I would schedule the presentation for them. I just wanted Max to have the opportunity to review it before we had anybody come
Yep.
in. Oh, and I just also wanted to say, if you'll recall, both of these RFPs went out. One was for Friendship Street School, and the other was for A.D. Gray. We did not have any responses to the A.D. Gray RFP.
Yep.
And we had about 3 interested parties in Friendship Street School, but only one party submitted a plan, a response to the RFP.
Okay.
so, the group that was going to work on A.D. Gray, they're not interested?
They are. VOA is,
Yeah.
I had a conversation actually today with, Mr. Seitz, Brian.
Yep.
They are interested. They're just waiting to see how you wanted to proceed. They wanted to see how, but how we make out also, I think, with the grant for the,
The cleanup.
it's the Brownsfield grant for the demolition of A.D. Gray. So I think there's, a lot of things in the works that they're still here. They're still interested in Waldoboro. I think it's a kind of a wait and see game of what's going to happen. Especially potentially, if we're successful with the demolition grant, what then is select board, going to want to do? So if we are successful with that grant, you guys need to start to be thinking about how you want to proceed with that parcel.
Okay.
But they are interested, and they are looking at other sites too in town. They have not walked away from Waldorf.
Okay, that's good. And they had said that they would do the demolition at one
They
meeting.
would partner with us in the grant to potentially do the demolition, yes. But we went ahead, based on what the direction the select board had given Max and I, and we went ahead and filed that based on, just the town proceeding with demolition.
Because there was a timeline with that, correct?
And when will we know?
I would hope.
Max, don't you think that's in the spring?
Yeah, it's gonna be in the spring. They asked just for some, Julie can confirm this, but I believe they asked for some documents in earlier this month for our application.
Correct, and I provided them.
And she provided them, so, it could be a good sign that they're actually looking at our application.
Yeah.
We should know maybe April,
April, you think?
I would hope.
Somewhere around there? Yep.
Yeah, I got a call from Boston. That's where they were. So they were actually talking about it. So I sent off the information when I was pretending I was Max.
Uh-huh. Good.
I don't think you can pull that off.
I just don't have that wonderful, calm, sweet demeanor that Max has. No, I do not.
No, you do not.
Oh, good.
All right. Does anybody else get any other questions? All right, so we've got that on the next meeting. Items for the next meeting on the agenda. This is one of them.
Friendship Street.
Yeah. Friendship Street. I think that's it for now, isn't it?
Do you want
Well, the
more information on this disorderly property ordinance?
Yep.
Give us a
Do you
chance
want to? We could set the public hearing at the next meeting.
Yep,
That would be good.
Yep, we can set the meeting for that. Public hearing. Other than that, is there anything else that we get coming down the road that we don't know about yet?
Budget.
Yeah.
And if I could, just for 1 minute, there is a large storm potentially that's going to hit us on Saturday. Has anybody seen the weather?
Yes.
Public Works was out since midnight last night just for this little bit of snow. So what I would ask, the temperatures are dropping. It's going to be very cold later tonight and tomorrow, so that people just pay attention to the temperature. But on Saturday, it could be a significant snowfall, and we would just ask for a lot of patience while the road crews clear the roads, because it looks like it would be a long storm in time.
Yep, yeah, they said that it was gonna last up to 24 hours, so.
Correct. And that is a very, very hard snow to plow, and people get frustrated. And, we have the routes, but we also have to rest our people too. So I just wanted everybody to be aware.
I'm heading out of town. I'll get away from the snow and go to Braintree. Oh, yeah, I drove through that last storm they had. It took me 4 hours.
Wow.
It was scary driving.
Well, I guess we are done. Would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn this meeting.
Is there a second? All those in favor?